Welcome to the world of Agentic AI, where AI just doesn't follow commands, right? It understands the context. It understands the context in terms of the business scenario, the data, and various situations that the AI is being taken through. It makes decisions on your behalf. It takes the action. You don't need to tell it to take the action. It takes the action. And it also learns during the process. So let me just take a step back, right? AI evolved over a period of time. It's been there for many years now, I think almost half a century. But, and most of us, when we started our careers, our version of AI was if, then, else. If this condition is there, let's do this action, and that's what it is, right? So what was going in? It was just cold coding logic. Then came the machine learning, which obviously needed a lot of data. You were able to find patterns in the data. You were able to make some predictions through the system, or the machine could do that. But what was the input? A lot of data. Then came generative AI a couple of years back. You were able to create automatically through the machines. You were able to be more creative, right? And also you were able to pass on prompts, right? But what was the dependency? You had to pass the right question, and obviously it was already trained on data. Now comes the age of AI, agentic AI, where AI is taking decisions. As I said, it bases the context that the agent is being taken through, bases the data and the kind of goal that you set for the agent. So agents are now taking decisions on your behalf, right? So in a nutshell, agentic AI is goal driven. You set the goal, you want the agent or you want the AI to take certain decisions on your behalf. You want it to plan strategically depending on data situation and depending on the business scenario, right? You want it to use tools. So to Vinod's point, it can go to the internet, use a browser, go to the internet, fetch data, do crawling, come back, take some action on it, and take the next step of action, right? Act autonomously. You may want an agent based a certain business scenario, or let's say based a certain situation that happens in a business. Let's say you're processing an order. If a value of the order is so much, you want the agent to take certain decision and move on to the next step. It's able to do that completely in context of the business, and it is also context aware. So the first earlier, if you recall, the older ways of looking at the bot, it was very canned response, right? So you will ask a question, it will have a response. Now you ask a question, it will give a response. You ask another question, it understands the context. So how does it work, right? An agentic AI has LLM. A core component of the agentic AI is the LLM. It has certain actions that it takes. It has a database where it could be an SAP database, it could be Oracle, it could be any of your databases that you would have your transactional data, and it also have the vector database to basically understand the prompt and the intent of the user. And obviously it will have the data flywheel. So basically the whole data is circulating within the whole agentic process. So idea is an agentic AI is able to perceive what the action it's supposed to take. It is able to reason the action that and take the decision accordingly. It is acting and it's also learning. 33% of the enterprises feel that their applications will have agentic AI built into the applications itself. And some of the Big Fours, including us, we are launching our own agentic AI platforms, which obviously are meant for supporting our customers and our clients. Obviously, there are different scenarios these agentic AI platforms work, they deliver. And obviously, as I said, the CAGR is very high. It's almost 45% CAGR in terms of growth. So if you're not really following it, I think definitely it's important for you to get in. If you look at the Gartner prediction and especially the hype cycle, we are at the peak of the agentic AI evolution. We are talking about some of the companies already getting into it. As I just mentioned, the adoption obviously has gone high. Some of us are experimenting with it, but I think for some it's still some of them obviously have matured, but some are still figuring out what to do with the agentic AI. Obviously, the different business cases that you need to look forward to. As mentioned by Vinod, I think you need to follow certain principles, especially when you're trying to bring in AI into your own organization. And agentic AI obviously is the next wave in terms of AI. Generative AI that came in a couple of years back, obviously agentic AI is an evolution. Obviously, it leverages generative AI, but generative AI is more around content creation. It's very prompt bound, But whereas you look at agentic AI, it is able to take actions. It is obviously human is on the loop. Whereas in generative AI scenario, it is human in the loop, right? So you have to ask a question, it responds to you. But in agentic AI scenario, the system is able to take actions. It is able to decide on next step. Whereas it can obviously a human can look at what's happening within the agentic AI system, right? And the idea is you are able to now establish value. If you go and tell your, if you have to tell your CEOs a couple of years back, or maybe at least 2 years back, saying that I want to bring in a generative AI based system, you wouldn't have been able to create a ROI. But with agentic AI capability, now you're able to say that we can potentially replace a part of the process that we run as an organization, turn to agents, and can generate, easily create the ROI, right? Customer operations, I'm sure most of you have already seen how it's getting changed. I think there are a couple of booths outside that I've seen where people are actually, some of the companies are showing how agentic AI can be used in customer service. And obviously, Chitty Babu talked about supply chain disruption using agentic AI. Now, so coming back to the consulting world, we now have agentic AI based engagement managers, right? Who are practically working as co-pilots for our consultants. We don't really need to spend a lot of time as we speak on creating the content or coming out with the right kind of insights, because we are able to use the agentic AI very effectively. As I mentioned, the whole life cycle of consulting itself obviously is going through a large transformation, right? Even one of the examples that I can take is, and I'm sure the services industries can resonate with it. If you have an RFP that you need to respond to, you can actually have the agentic AI go through that information, suggest you the type of responses that you need to give to the client or when you're putting up a proposal, but also tell you the risks related to the proposal, right? If you're accepting a proposal, what could be the potential risk? And if you need to take any specific action in your different systems that you may have, I think that's very much feasible using the agentic AI. So I'll just quickly skip through. I just talked about compliance, I briefly touched upon it, but an important thing I mentioned about the policy management. So if in case any regulatory changes that are happening, right, you can potentially look at the information that's coming in from regulations and make changes to your own organizations and policies. You could do risk scoring as against some of the external changes. But importantly, in space of cybersecurity, an interesting use case that we have done where we are able to deploy a virtual SOC analyst who is able to understand all the information that's coming in from threat intel, from the dark web to different sources, to SIEM, to some of the other logs that we collect. And it's able to take those actions. It's able to first tell the human, saying that this is the outcome I'm able to see. I'm able to analyze this kind of information, but I'm also able to, you can either take an automated action in resolving that incident, or you can let a human take that action. So you have cases like these that are coming up especially in the compliance field. So even in the enterprise, I'm sure many of you have experienced the employee chatbot. That's the typical and the first use case anybody would go for. I think they're starting from assisting employees in terms of what could be policies of your organization in terms of a chat interface, to making them and their lives easier by integrating your application, the agentic AI application, with different systems to take necessary actions automatically. I think you could do all of that, right? And typically, be it in the procurement or in the HR or in even IT technology, right? Especially the ticket triaging, if you have experienced, right? Many of you are from the IT field, you understand that if there is a service ticket that is raised, how do you triage the ticket? How do you leverage the knowledge base that you already have with you, and you are able to triage the ticket and find out the resolution, either allow the user to do self-help or help the agent, who is your L1 or L2 agent, to resolve the ticket, right? I think some of those use cases are coming up or they are already in practice in many of the organizations. So idea is, I think Float was a great framework. Vinod, I must appreciate. Just to add to what he said, right? It's important to identify, I think, the numerous use cases that you would have, but it's important to identify the right use case, right? Because you need to first catch the low-hanging fruit or areas which could have very high impact in terms of business. Second is build the right foundations. Data is very critical for your any application or any agentic AI or even AI application that you want to bring in. And make sure that obviously data could be sitting in multiple islands. Unless you bring all the data together, your AI systems will not work, right? So building the right foundation is important. And if you brought everything together, how do you monitor the data, right? How do you build the KPIs? You can build systems, but if you do not have a KPI, if you say that I'm bringing an agentic AI platform or I'm bringing a generative AI based platform, what is the outcome that I'm expecting out of it? If I'm investing a couple of $1 million in building an application, am I expecting the ROI? How do I measure the KPI? How do I measure the success of the application? Am I looking at the reduction in the workforce? May not be right per metric. Or am I looking at the efficiency in the process? Or am I looking at the savings in cost? You need to have the real KPI defined for the initiative that you're looking at. Importantly, have the right frameworks. Don't go whole hog in terms of building your own platforms. Platforms are available. See how you can experiment very quickly, get early success, and if you're able to scale, I think you should be able to do that faster. Don't try to invest everything every time. Don't build every time with from scratch. You will end up wasting a lot of time, right? And importantly, in fact, one of the examples that I can take is we have built something called Trusted AI Council in our own firm. I think it's important to have the governance on top of anything that you do. AI can make mistakes. AI, it can be life-threatening. It can be business. It can damage the business. It can damage the the impression of the, or let's say the reputation of the organization. So it's important to have right governance. Humans should either be in the loop or on the loop. Don't avoid human, especially when you're bringing AI into your organization, right? And most importantly, you have to create a very scalable enterprise, and possibly you have to rethink about how you relook at your model, how you relook at your business itself. So don't try to add AI to your business, right? Rethink about AI as you're running a business, or rethink of your business itself, using AI. So I think some of the challenges that we've discussed earlier, but importantly, I think I would want to focus on cyber and regulatory risk, because I think as you bring in more automation and autonomy in the applications, you will definitely have situations where threat actors will come in, you won't even realize. Your bots are going to the internet, they're fetching data, they could be fetching services which could be malicious. You may not be even knowing what sort of information is coming in and what could potentially cause harm to your processes. So I think it's important to have a very strong cyber and regulatory, you should be able to manage the regulatory risk as well. And obviously, it's a fast moving world. I think humans are known to be very adaptable, right? I think change, we are very open to accepting change, but I think the change that AI is bringing is way too fast, right? And obviously, getting the talent to do whatever we want, we can have multiple aspirations, but the talent itself is going to be scarce. So I think we need to start building the talent pipeline in your own organization if you really want to excel in AI. So I want to just finish my presentation here, but thank you so much for that patient listening. I hope I could do some value add in terms of, where are we heading in terms of the agentic AI. Thank you so much.